God, the most benevolent, the most merciful. All praise due to the Lord of the worlds, the one and only system admin of this existence we're in. So, dear listeners, I don't know if you can hear the background music, but there's some sort of ambient music. And as a human being on Earth and also present in the living history of mankind, through a long journey of my DNA, in this moment, out of all of my ancestors, I have the privilege of stepping into the cyberspace immortal, or the immortalization of cyberspace, of what enters in it. So I am the first of my lineage to truly dive into this field and into this cyberspace realm, meaning that out of all my ancestors, I have the privilege to say things, and what I say does not get forgotten in the void, it echoes on in the cyberspace realms. In the cyber realms. So it's an interesting moment. I find myself in human history in 2025. Some guy who's lived over 12,000 days on this planet and has noticed the dance of existence. And now I speak. I am speaking to you like someone who's seen something and is coming back to say something. Anyways, to dive deeply and open the door of this lecture, what we're looking at here is perhaps something no human being has cared to explain until now. It is not some hopeful, intuitive walking in the realm. It is more like the importance of what is actually going on has hit you in such a way that a car accident didn't hurt you, but the shock of why it didn't is like a deeper thing. The title of tonight's episode is The Double-Edged Prophecy of Every Moment's Occurrence. Therefore, if speech was a sort of similar to the craft of swordsmanship, I am displaying to the whole universe, in the presence of the Absolute, my display of skill of existing and communicating. Why has one human being chosen to use these terms? Why do I say the double-edged prophecy? And why do I even say of every moment's occurrence? And why has my mind sequenced the images of reality in such a way? Really what communication is a constant resimulation. It's like an endlessly simulating a meaning structure. It doesn't grow smaller. It's like how do you know you got a real answer? The problem just got bigger. That's when you've been given a good answer. Because the idea of, I think, being in this world, it is to engage in the act of curiosity. it means that there's, with this whatever life force we are right now, there is something within this life intelligence that says, okay, why am I here? Why am I in this moment? What kind of moment am I in? You go deeper. What kind of world am I in? Okay, you go deeper. What kind of civilization am I in? You go deeper. What kind of society am I in? You go deeper. What kind of meaning, self-simulated meaning am I in? And then life gets interesting. You understand that it's not that every person is living like a sheep. It's just that the urge to want to keep things the same is denying the future's ability to maintain that sameness. There's so much going on in this world that if you just look at it, it opens up layers of reality, open up by just, they're like, yo man, is this some psychic ability? And I'm like, no bro, what are you saying? It's concentration. It means having an ability to wonder about a singular point in your moment of being. Now, the idea of prophecy is a heavy idea. I do not speak about it as if I am some divine revelation, the revelator.
We
you
have
know.
platinum.
Sorry guys, this YouTube thing's, there should be ad block. I don't know what the hell's going on. Okay. There we go. Whatever. I am bringing into our attention that the world you're living in most likely is a simulation. And you're gonna be like, why, random stranger in a online podcast? What gives you the right to tell me that I'm living in a simulation? And I will say, simply because I have to care. It is not a matter of wanting to care. It's like sometimes you open your eyes in this world and it's not like you have a choice. You have choices within the chosen. That means reality has been chosen. Why do I'm trying to build for people in this lecture, like honestly. People are like, yo man, is getting these lectures easy or hard? Well, you tell me. I'm trying to make the human species become aware that every moment is double-edged, okay? And how the moment occurs is signifying an expression. I am bringing into the attention of our species a fundamental expression in our experience as human beings. So we have a body like if I was having a conversation on an alien like public transport, bus, imagine, and the extraterrestrials, yeah man, so how's it living on Earth and being from Earth and all that? And I have to explain to this extraterrestrial like what kind of human beings we are. I would be like, bro, the kind of beings we are is that we are the result of macro decisions. That means they're like, and this is the strange thing, that I don't know how I can blame anything in a changing world. People are like, you can blame the one who's commanded it to change. And I'm like, there's nothing to blame. You see, in this life before you're an idea of a self, you're a witness. You are the presence of a living moment before you've been conditioned into the theatrics of ideological public existence. This is language, and you don't get it. Like, there's been philosophers who've gone to the edge of language and they've understood a fundamental secret, that it's all kept in duality. Language is like a subjective, dualistic model of reality. is not the reality itself. But here's the strange thing: the real witness is non-real. So in this moment, if I ask myself right now, like imagine like, kind of like Saving Private Ryan level of shell shock, like intensity, if I just ask myself, okay, what is real right now? Like imagine some soul in a moment in the world freaks out and is like, yo man, what am I being right now? And in that moment comes to the realization how much of the story of man is in a dualistic like edifice. Like I don't know what to say. Right now you think you're listening to someone, but you don't know who you're listening to, which means your mind is giving meaning to the meaningless this whole time. Okay? And when a human being's like, yo guys, the double-edged prophecy of how the moment occurs, of the moment's occurrence. What does that mean? That means we're just being like intelligent enough. They're like, yo man, what do you study for a living? And the person's like, I study how I'm being alive, yo. You know, it's as if every moment of my existence I am learning from the geometry that has been provided in that moment prior to conditioning. Like I don't know what it is, but I know that there's so many different types of human beings, and there's this massive wave of conditioning that hits them. Okay? And very few wonder about who they are, where they are, what they are, because you have to sacrifice the comforts of the simulation for the reality of truth. It's pretty much realizing greater battles, but let me just first explain the title, and then it'll be easier to kind of go with the flow of where the moment goes. I want you to consider that you were in, like, you know, a convention of the most advanced people on this planet. And they were all wondering about, okay, what are we here to look at now? It's very strange. In my youth, they said, yo, man, grow up. Or a child is born and grows into life, And I was like, yeah, I was conditioned by those stories. And then you realize, is it growth? Or is it where your attention goes to? Some people are like, yo, man, are you a teacher? And I'm like, my soul's not chained to the past, my soul does honor an original truth of reality, but I am not like, I gave up on preference to self at some point. This doesn't mean I didn't care for my physical existence and subjective existence. No, no, no. It means there came moments where if somebody's like, yo man, what kind of philosopher were you? I'll be like, I was that dude in history who saw humanity, saw all the humanness in it, and then also noticed all the non-humanness going on, and was like, okay, let's continue to play the human game, but with the depth of where sight has started and where it leads. There's a notion, I firmly believe in this, that all souls are trying to return home. And we're right now inside a dualistic simulation. Okay? And when I say the double-edged prophecy, like just think about what I'm saying. I'm saying every moment of being, because there's the duality of the linguistic story structure. Okay? It's like it's double-edged right now. There's a version of me giving this talk, and there's a version of me that is not giving this talk. Imagine. You know, right now, whoever you think you are, whatever you think you are, just keep that as a reference point and then wonder about the opposite. Double-edged means it's a door, it's a portal. Anytime I hear I use the term double-edged, okay, I even coined this thing double-edged, words. But the whole point of it is, double-edged sentences. I'm trying to tell you that you're living a physical life that's very simple and has a very easy explanation, but you're also living as a mind, moving your body. And what the mind is the term we give to the management of the information of the moment. So imagine your physical existence is giving you access to information, and then there's a version of you that's like, all right, what do I do with all this information? That's like the ego. The ego's like, you kidding me? How am I gonna process existence if I don't individualize? And then the divine's like, relax, ego. You know, it's actually you're not the one in charge. You know, and then the soul realizes it's a word. Dear viewers, ultimately I want you to imagine it's like a bunch of souls wake up in forms, as these beings on a planet, and they pick up whatever they see and they've been through and they make it themselves. And what we're actually seeing and what we consider an individual to be, it is more like a vehicle and a unit than actually something specific. Okay, like, to be honest, they're like, yo man, did you wake up from your dreams you had when you sleep? And I'm like, I don't know, man. Like, this world is semi-dream-like. And they're like, why? How could you say this physical existence that you could do jumping jacks on this planet? Like, how could you say this is, you know, a semi-dream-like? And I'll be like, because we don't know its edge. That's the weird part. Even before, like, allegiance of superior belief, I'm just saying, like, we don't know where we are, but we kind of see what we are. And because there's a dualistic structure to reality going from night and day, even from night and day, like, to the visible, invisible, the known, the unknown, the good, the bad, the right, the wrong, the beautiful, the ugly, the smart, the foolish. Reality is divided into duality. We are in a dualistic, simulated, you know, psychological place where we're acting like these subjective characters exist to each other. It is obviously simulated. We're inside a simulation and we're simulating our own meaning over this simulation too. It's like simulation to the power of two. Like, they're like, how hard was it to build an advanced civilization in 2025? I'm like, I had to convince a species to realize they're creating the meaning on a reality that is so vast, unknown, and verb-like that really we have to more come to terms with the intelligence of the realm rather than the intelligence of, you know, of one's only inner realm. Like, we have to organize the way the species acknowledges itself. And I'm saying, like, just entertain me for a moment in this lecture because it's a very fascinating idea. I'm saying that what if we don't jump to like an infinite multiverse theory and we're like, okay, what if in every moment there is a right and wrong version? We take a duality, okay, like you take a duality like right and wrong and you just apply it to the moment. And you're like, okay, there is a version of me that right now can be doing the wrong thing. There is a version of me that could be doing the right thing. There's a version of me that could be saying the most perfect things. There's a version of me that could be that's saying the worst things. And it's as if like the soul is the decider of which parallel reality to enter, to journey on through. It's really branch like. Like if they did a study, they'll probably find this is true. Human decision making is mimicking how neurons move, probably. I don't know, somebody said this in 2025, and you heard it here. So I'm trying to say in every moment, there's like two types of moments, and these are inner possibilities. Externally, you're like some dude sitting on your balcony giving a podcast, but internally, there's like various ways the moment can move. It's like sometimes I wonder, like, why do I have a mind? And the mind is the agency of realization. Like we're here to figure it out. But now we gotta try to do it as a species. And we have to come to terms with duality. And I'm saying in every moment, in my mind, it's not just one life is being lived, multiple lives are being lived, but in front of my eyes, one physical life is being lived. It's like moments, like, it's like if you really wanted to look at time dilation, they'd be like, yo, Einstein, sure, what if a train moves super fast and you're on it, time's gonna be experienced differently. The faster you go to the speed of light, and then it like stops. But I'm saying, like, okay, relax, Einstein, how do we explain time dilation when it comes to a human being checking their watch and being like, okay, it's an afternoon, and then suddenly for a moment just imagining like multiple days being lived before they're even living those days. Like the mind is very fascinating because it's legit like every person's private office. You've been given a free office, okay? And the office is like, what is your intelligence and what can you do with it? Duality is very important because I'm saying like a simple man, let's say, lives one sort of life every day. A more complex man lives like two kinds of life every day. Let's say even a more complex person is living like, the moment you're living more than two lives a day, you're kind of living in close to infinity, infinite lives a day. So I'm saying it's the matter of time. Time seems to be something I gotta keep in the context, because if I don't, I am found in the eternal, art studio of the cosmos, the divine art studio, the realization that everything in existence has been designed. It has been positioned, the value who we are. They're like, yo man, some people take their meaning based on what they are, but some people take meaning in regards to like, yo, how could what I am even be here? And the doors of mystery open, the doors that once one feared now like, required exits. Like you guys don't get it. Like right now, I'm living as a being that every moment of my life, I am in the presence of a system admin that is so beyond the system that everything in existence has been originally commanded and programmed by the system admin. And every moment there's so many possibilities. It's as if it's so weird. Like, why do we have minds that could wonder about how moments could have turned out differently? The fact that that's even possible is like a divine clue. It is about how far we truly dive into the presence of reality. Can we be fearless when we discover that all our knowledge is held in the unknown and it has been commanded into position, you know? They're like, if somebody's like, Mr. Within, should we take your worldview as like, should we take your worldview as like, yo man, the view the global civilization should have? And I'll be like, I don't know, man. You know, the view I have is that everything in the moment has been commanded to be here, from like extending from the sounds you hear in the background to the way I'm sharing these sentences, I'm presenting them. Really what it is at some point, what is it to be a human being? It is to discover you are an awareness deeper and beyond the human boundary. But this doesn't mean you're trying to not live as human. You see, in front of my eyes, I treat it like a museum that I try to touch it the least. Reality has become a strange place when children are raised in a global culture where their minds can imagine way more than they've had real experiences. It means that you have a bunch of beings that it's easier for them to create their own meaning than to discover the meaning beyond what they've seen so far. It's as if you brought if you put everybody on the planet in a room and you ask them a question, who's willing to see what's beyond this room? And all those souls that raise their hand, those are the beings that have realized, okay, I have lived in the meaning, I have given to life, been there, done that, what is next? And when I thought about it, I'm like, yo man, imagine I was in like some sky city and I had like just for, you know, a couple months wanted to try out being like a professor in a sky city, okay? And they're like, give a lecture on, and I'd be like, yo man, the only lecture to give is to figure out what's going on here in existence. Like that's like, they're like really what were children learning in the future? They were learning how reality started. Which means it has multiple starting points. It's as if not only you have an opinion on yourself, others have an opinion. There's even states of view that are opinionless. It's like I don't go around throughout the day being like, oh my God, what does the planet, you know, Mars or Neptune think about me? Do you know what I mean? Like there's so many ideas that are just left in actually the empty space of possibility. How far can it all go? And what is the true ability of the human being? In that Sky City University, I would stand and I'd be like, everybody, let's go outside. I would explain the gravity of the situation. That in every moment of life, there is some amount of free will that can coordinate it. We are starting off not as a presumption of an entity. Do you understand what I'm saying? Like in this world, like you're not just wearing clothes as a human being, like clothing. You're also wearing subjects as your ideological identity. Dare I say, infinity is behind the curtain of duality. Right now, the decision on Earth has to be like, what do we do with this simulated life? There's 8 billion of us, and I was like, how are we living? And I'm like, oh man, it's the same thing, the same way language evolved humans as civilization is evolving right now. Just like there were like different dialects and then nationalism happened, and suddenly like all these dialects meshed into one, like you know, those Japanese giant robots that all the different parts like, you know, connect or something. I don't know. The moment is mysterious, meaning that at some point of trying to process what can be known, the unknown will be noticed. If people are like, yo man, what do you mean unknown? Do you mean something spooky? And I'm like, no, it's purely like design. Like as if you're listening to a designer. I'm talking about the geometry of it. Right now, in every moment of our being, we are present as the whole moment, and our body is found in this whole moment. So you can identify as what's in the moment, or you can identify as the whole moment. Those people who identify as the whole moment, they have access to the inner realms, which is called mind. I firmly believe everybody is living an inner life, a hidden inner life. And at some point there's gonna come next level explorers in the future. Who might kinda like salute me for being here earlier, but like there might be explorers in the future, and they will realize all human beings, all their minds are actually on one server. If somebody says, yo, how far did you go in the pursuit of knowledge? I went as far as realizing all knowledge, natural knowledge, comes down to divine command. It's a force. That means it's not just like what's here is important, but it's what's here is happening. That's also important. And in the same way we consider we're a body that has a mind, it's like you're looking at a world with a mind, but it's not a mind, it's commands of an administrator. It's like the guiding point that beyond all dualistic meaning, the singular truth stands witness. For me, it's strange, but like, they're like, yo, what did you realize, like, in 33 years of life? The search for truth is like realizing what has been known is at its limit. And because we're wondering about not just uncharted territory, but uncharted intelligence, I'm trying to make you realize that if you right now, we teleported the species to some other planet that was like Earth on some other part of the solar system, how would they start living there? And how would they realize they were not from that planet? For me, it's a very, I don't know, 100% I will have to account for it. My soul has to account for it. But I have opted into accepting that the ultimate strategy on Earth is to unleash everybody's advancement. It's as if they're like, yo man, can you build an advanced civilization? And I'll be like, not with the people of Earth. Because right now there are scattered minds. Scattered minds, and in their, scattered simulations, they can't find meaning. We're at the era where externally people are living at a higher standard of living, but internally they are now souls that are caught between worlds. The different destinies the moment can have, to be honest, they're like, how easy is it to be a writer? You just have to be fearless enough to wonder about what will happen, what can happen. The mind is an ability to live before you physically move. They're like, can you teach someone to become a master of their mind? And I'd be like, anybody who even believes it can be taught is ridiculous. If they're like, how do you attain mastery? Do you repeat something ridiculously? I'll be like, sure, that's the traditional approach, but the actual approach is no. Everything you do is at a certain power level. And in order to do anything that maybe is actually a higher power, one has to acknowledge that reality. And I'm like that person being like, okay, whatever we say, everybody in the classroom has to first immediately acknowledge their limitation. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if in the future they're like, honorable schools of like, it's just the fascination of the intelligence that we are with what is actually present. And to me, I am tired of staring at hollow worlds. The emptiness of the world has bored me. That means I'm sorry, but there's something boring about sorry, I shouldn't say boring. There's something strange about how a mind that lives ahead of the moment has access to two realities of itself. So what the mind is doing is generating reality. They're like, what's the meaning of life? Reality, it's a reality machine. What do you mean? The mind's generating reality. Okay. But, but in honesty, the mystery of it all, how the moment's value structure is even positioned in the context of how the concept has meaning. No concept stands alone. The witness is the context. That means I am the concept, God is the context. I am the conception, God is the context. Truth was never a thing. Truth was how all of it intelligently happened. We breathe now, we are something now. We stare at a world that no one has our eyes, and in some sense what the world reveals to each of us is the decision of, I would say, destiny. The whole point of prophecy means it's been lived before by truth, now assimilated things were like what's going to truly happen. I don't think I could have said it better than that. They're like, are you trying to build heaven on earth? I'll be like, it's not possible. Not that it's not possible, like the attempt to the most advanced attempt of it is 100% possible, but this realm is designed for souls that still are incomplete. So you cannot act as a perfect being in an incomplete world. You cannot act as a completed being in an incomplete world. The only way it's possible, if you consider a context beyond your will's domain, and when the divine will comes in, do you know what it means? It's like, I'm telling you, we're in like a bunch of simulations. We consider the physical simulation to be kept by natural laws. Now I'm telling you, imagine behind what the natural laws are following are actually divine laws. And what a divine law is how the system admin has commanded the soul of a moment to exist. Because to me, like, when Yoda in Star Wars was like the Force, bro, and I was like, oh my God, what does that mean? And then I realized that the Force is the force of life. It is how anything is happening at all. I don't know if that's a spiritual experience, but the awareness to how there's anything at all is fascinating. The awareness to how the mind can, suddenly, multifacetedly, like it's like just like how, I don't know, like birds open up their wings in the same way the human mind can wonder about reality when it becomes fascinated by something that is important. Sometimes it's just being honest with the moment, and you just see what you are, and you look at this world and you become, for the first time in your life, fascinated by everything that you don't know. You become fascinated by all the ways the moment could have happened, can happen, may happen. The mind is like, buddy, you want me to show you reality? I'll show you everything. And the mind goes on every day, waking up, reprojecting meaning structures to everything that happens to it. Like, what is, like, existential human maturity? To not ignore what is actually going on because our ancestors had to hold on to some story. It is not denying them, it is also not denying the self. There is no answer. Like when I tell you where Earth is kind of like in the middle, Earth is where somewhere where it's not a purely beastly dimension and it's not a purely angelic dimension. And in a modern sense, I'll tell you, you're like in this video game, and the video game is designed to be incomplete until you discover its main purpose. And the main purpose of life, there is no one answer, but I will just ask you a question. Could the moment be going somewhere before we are? Could there be truths that you are hiding from? And how have you been fascinated by the vastness of the simulated reality? They're like, don't lie, but wait a minute, everybody's simulating meaning into the moment. Two people can have an incredible conversation and at the end be like, we understand each other, but do you? And it's not to like, you know, I'm just trying to tell you what understanding is unity through what we are in the presence of. That means they're like, what's the most important thing to teach the children of mankind, the future generations, and even the unborn witnesses? It is very simple. Every being enters this planet and they live a simulation of a life. They simulate it in every moment, and at some point they begin to notice, after living on this planet, a pattern in their existence, right? And you begin to notice the pattern of your soul. And then you wonder about what intelligent value system should guide you. And this is every person's choice based on how much they believe truth exists. But I'm trying to tell you, you're not caught in a web of lies, you're caught in a web of stories painted on an existence that is changing. They were like, yo man, how do we stop the children of the future generations from freaking out? Or like, how do we, like, you know, control the masses so they don't freak out? It's like, yo man, tell them a bedtime story, but tell them like through a centuries long one, you know. What I mean is that we are in the presence of the higher realms. If any ideological system denies that, it is ignorant of its own context. I am alive. I am a creature of life. I am a moment of life. I don't even understand how life can die. It's the same way of like, how can energy not exist? Like, you know what I mean? How could existence not exist? If truth was based on a higher reality, do you know what that means? That means beyond the greatest logic of man. Divine commands are far superior. Like, if they're like, yo man, what is destiny? And I'd be like, if Iron Man was in the room, I'd say it's a kind of power source. Destiny, I don't know, I don't claim anything, but in the years that I've, you know, lived on this planet, it has occurred to me that my whole life sense of being right and wrong was based on my sense of self-design. And to have the ability, the audacity to wonder about who else you have been this whole time. What is the deeper nature of the existence of a human being in the space-time continuum? For me, it's about assembly. Even though I was not, I don't know, I'm like this rogue person kind of being close enough to civilization to say something to it. But in reality, I am not just speaking in the realm of men. I am speaking in the realms of beyond the human intelligence. Right now, my greatest listener is the original cause, how reality is positioned. Any strategist knows that destiny is based on position. And if your mind has an ability to see different ways you can do something, your destiny is like as if, which do you choose? And thinking is another way of saying we are comparing different probabilities to how the moment can happen. Or how one idea can have multiple meanings. They're like, does history have the soul? Can you say something about the soul of history? The soul is the secret of the system admin. Right now, 8 billion human beings whether they know it or not, have chosen some sort of approach to a system. Like, it's weird. But we're like a species, but we're not a united species. And we even have philosophers being like, is it even possible, bro? Can some guy been born in Japan their whole life, and some person born in, like, I don't know, in, like, like New York, can these people culturally unite, And the whole point of it is the past was a disagreement. The present hasn't been selected. The future is probabilities of what's possible. I'm like that guy being like, yo, they told us when you close your eyes, you don't see anything. Not true. They told us our dreams weren't real, but we could move in them. Like our actual dreams. What we are seems to be a unique expression of existence. Such a unique expression of existence that it has noticed itself beyond its objective form, formulated into itself into some conceptualization of an entity, aligned itself to the values of the context. The ego has complex geometry, but the divine command is simpler than one's expectation. We are in the presence of the original system admin of reality. And there's nothing that can be hidden, so at some point the soul is left present as it is, really. It's as if they're like, yo, what if in some judgment moment scenario you were asked, like, why did you make a mistake? And I would be like, there is no explanation that the system admin does not know. But I am not a blind believer of ideas. The calling of the heart of our species was further than, the consequence of our external reality. In the search for God, we discovered the ability to witness duality simultaneously, to be able to unite the moment in the presence of the ultimate. So, like a religious person, I consider myself religious. God is the system admin beyond the simulated testing zone, divine surveillance testing zone. And there's nothing wrong with it, there's no ungratefulness, it is just a matter of how it has been displayed. It is like, what kind of truth do you want? This is a strange statement, but let me tell you why I'm saying it. Because it's like, there could be a truth that you give yourself. There's a truth someone can give you. And then there's a truth that you actually go see for yourself what's going on and you come to a conclusion. They're like, if somebody asks me, yo man, what spiritual people should I like go and study? And I'll be like, what are you saying? It's like, you don't study people. You watch humanity. You understand the multiple contexts, that it's not just there could be multiple concepts in one moment. There could be one concept in multiple contexts. God is the ultimate singular, technically not concept, but like God is the singular context to all conception. And it's far superior. They're like, yo man, do you want to contact time travelers? Do you want to contact aliens? Do you want to contact like, higher entities or something? I'll be like, no. I am inside a world room. Whose world room is it? I want to find the owner of existence. And not because I want to say anything, but just to be like, why? Because an explanation of occurrence is the resolve of the soul. Pretty much judgment is another way of saying we don't truly know the value of all of our decisions right now. But they do have value. Like, externally I could be living in ignorance, but maybe in the middle of that ignorance I found a moment where I could just stare at it all and be like, what can I say to not just who's alive now, but who may be listening in the future? Whether from the trenches of ignorance or the sky cities of clarity. To honor truth and to guide the species in the presence of what's there. There is no, like, pretty much they're like, what was religion about? Truth is here now. This world, it's not just being seen by us. The whole thing knows it's being seen by what's beyond it. There is no secret, no secret technique. It's like you're in a world, you wonder why you're here, you ask yourself how much of it do you want to give meaning, or what actual meaning does it have beyond how you've understood it so far, and you're just in that like unknown moment where you're like, okay, from one angle, external normal life. From another angle, internal realization that the boundaries of the human idea is not just to the human idea. More than we're a human idea, we are that mechanism, I shouldn't say mechanism, we're that ability to notice that which is separate to us. That means how is my mind and body connected? They are both found in the presence of my soul. How is everything that happens from my body and mind connected to my soul? And how is my soul connected to God? My soul is the realization I am stationed currently. I'm speaking as a soul, as a being that is performing in existence, and perhaps beyond existence must confront the value of his performance. That means the moment you believe that there is a greater intelligence here, reality, normality, it's all stories, folks. We are unknown beings, just like opting into this dualistic linguistic simulation and being like, all right, man, I'll be this character, you be that character, and the show goes on. Every moment has multiple possibilities. I can see so many ways this single moment I'm in can happen. I can see that from one angle that the value of my actions. Why did Tupac Shakur say only God can judge me? Why did Muhammad Ali, the greatest fighter, say I'm protected by the greatest, the one and only? Human beings on this planet they're just by existing as a human being, are honestly, like, it's kind of fascinating that we're this level intelligent and we are this form, and we've managed to, like, usher ourselves and our ancestors helped us to get into civilization. Like, the fact that we have some sort of imperfect civilization is better than being in the savageness of a kind of ignorant food chain. So what I'm trying to say right now, whatever we've got, it's good enough to become something better, A hidden eternal statement. Beyond it all, there was an attention here. The double-edged prophecy of the moment's occurrence. It is pretty much realizing that part of being a soul is to witness the destiny of your action. That system has been designed. There's coded, just like you didn't create this world. You were born in here, though. You found yourself here. Similarly, you realize so much of reality and its shape was not authored by you. And it's that daring task of a soul to discover that it's unknowable because it's the will, it's at the mercy of the higher power. So I'm telling you, all spiritual traditions, any followers of them, their conclusion has to be we're in the presence of, like, we're waiting for the higher power to guide us. Why? Because it's the manifestation of purpose, but it is also the sincere search for truth. Every moment is double-edged and based on whatever dualistic context you can give it. I'm just explaining like geometry here, guys. That means anything. Okay, there's a coffee cup here. All we can give it is, that's the concept. The context is any duality we give it. Like, yo, man, there's a visible coffee cup right now, but there's also an invisible one too. There we go. Do you know? That's duality right there. It's like, yo, man, there's like a good coffee cup right now, and then there's an evil coffee cup. It's like, yo, man, another double-edged reality. And based on which one we choose, it doesn't mean the other one didn't manifest. So all the ways reality can happen behind our eyes are actually ways reality did happen behind our eyes. And in front of our eyes, we are the superior intelligence that decides. It's as if not only I have access to the dreams I had last night, but I have access to every thought I've had during the day, and I have access to a certain capability of recollect memory based on how everything's designed. What I mean by this is that in the presence of the unknown, the higher power is the destiny of any verb. They're like, what is transcendence? I'll be like, yo, man, the only way out of, I shouldn't say the only, I don't know, but to me it appears that the only way out of the simulation we're all in right now, not your self simulations. I'm assuming you see beyond that. We are in the presence of the original, and I don't know how else to say it. Divinity is the original. When something divine happens, it is something that happens beyond the causation of the simulated meaning generation. We must open the ability of a species that in order to build the most advanced civilization, it must access the most advanced power. The most advanced power is not a noun and it is not a verb. It is the realization of the limits of fathomability. Beyond what you can imagine, that is the original, because you were simulated at some point in this existence. So it's this wonderful, interesting time that in 2025 in human history, the human understood it was all simulated. The shapes came from outside, but what they meant came from inside. The true presence of human intelligence is based on its ultimate context, which is what is the truest presence. What great ideal do we follow? What was the point? And I think when they said, like in Islam, that Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, was the last messenger, the seal of all prophets. The reason I think, like in my view, they said that is because he pointed, and it started from, they say what Prophet Abraham, peace be upon him, started. Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, finished. And what it meant was that it's the ultimate pointer. That means they're like, yo man, what do I look at after I've looked at everything in the world? And desire is just the manifestation of the confirmation of what we've seen, how far we've seen. I want you to feel your mind as if you are standing present in a sky that is room temperature. That you are in the presence of a moment unburdened by the design of the moment itself. Ladies and gentlemen, what God is the realization that truth is beyond the limits of the simulated reality. Anything that can be found in the boundary of a world is simulated in the presence of the unknown. And the presence of the unknown, ultimately behind the scenes of natural law, divine covenant, moves through and beyond any flaw. Divinity is way superior to any technology. Divinity is the realization you are in the presence of an original being and you are a simulated one. What sort of psychology and uncharted territory of human discovery is there? Like, I think this episode has kind of made you realize what I meant poetically is that subjectively, it's very multi-contextual. You can, just like how you light up a room with a lantern or something. They're like, in 2025 people had lanterns. I'm like, you guys, we could imagine that, you know. And in honesty, it doesn't matter what story you live through, you're in the presence of the living realm. We must advance civilization. And then before we can, we have to ask ourselves, what is the most advanced? We come to the conclusion, what is the most advanced is beyond the imaginable. And if what is most advanced is beyond the imaginable, the unimaginable is being considered sacred. The unimaginable is where all imagination is happening. Therefore, the unimaginable is where the command of the shape of existence arises from. And it's kind of like, yo, was this world painted? No. We are not in like some programmed world. The sort of divine texture of the reality I find here is that we're in a commanded world. That the soul does not fear energy level change. The soul fears if it loses the sight of being in the presence of its original power. God was the like a human being, like truth being pointed to being something beyond the mind's generation. Take that in. What else can you say that surpasses that? They're like, what kind of truth do you believe in? The truth that is beyond imagination, beyond conception. And they're like, okay, that wins. The truth beyond reality means reality is not the container of truth. Truth is containing reality. Sorry, guys, this was on mute and I was just talking away. I said, unfortunately, I realized I was imperfect. And when that moment happened, where I realized I'm imperfect, was like a moment where the clouds parted. And rather than light shining through, I went beyond those clouds. There are ways, like sometimes when I share what I'm saying here in this podcast, sometimes I feel like, okay, it's me saying it, like the idea of me. But then I'm like, it's not just the idea of me, and it's not just the like how real I'm seeing my inner realms, but it's also how the system admin positions it all. You see, it's as if I am not divine, but I am within a divine process. It's like I might be valueless, I might be a failure, I might be useless, I might be a loser, but I am being that in the presence of the undefeatable, the absolute glory of being, the greatness of reality, the advancement of all being, the commander of existence. Legit in all monotheistic theology, existence was commanded by the Supreme. That means if they're like, yo man, what's way more supreme than like being an inventor and building something next level? And I'll be like, if you could just instantly command it into existence. 100% inventors in the future, they're going to be these guys who they go into their designer studios, they put on these virtual reality goggles and they invent lots of stuff in cyberspace and they save it all. And then they choose one of them to build in the outer realms and they come and build it. But to be honest, it's honestly about, I think, if the soul, if the spirit of exploration finds you, I think every soul is designed, like what boredom, being unsatisfied, not ungrateful, but being unsatisfied, bored, and being like, what is this? Like, I think that's a very interesting state of being. Because it's a moment where we're wondering, is the ego just defining itself based on being on one branch and looking at reality, or flying into the sky and seeing that the whole forest is the truth? Do you understand? These are forests. Knowledge is, they said it's a tree, yo. They said knowledge was a tree, which means knowledge is a forest. And every idea is like a tree with a different height. Even I have a tree in that, you know, realm of imagination, or realm of like the astral, or I don't know what they call it. There's a Islamic term for it, but I forget. In Alam al-Mithal, I don't know how I remember that. Alam al-Mithal, meaning that there is a realm that the Creator has given us. Like, as a religious person, you don't have like one kind of self. You have your like physical body self. Then you have your nafs, which is your ego, which is your ideological self, which is your character, the story self. And then you have your ruh, your soul. And your soul is unknown. You can't know it. But it is also, the clue is that it's the command of the system admin. And the true wisdom is not the realization of karma, or of luck or unluck, or I discovered this or that. It's just the realization that there is greater like protocol of divine management. That means how I haven't just lived in this life, I've also seen the consequences of how I've lived. And I've also seen how the value of the moment has changed throughout the years. Not only I've documented this for like the viewers, But I'm telling you, like I have in this lifetime that I have been living through, the interior architecture of meaning I have seen to all this, it has re-simulated so many times that if they're like, is truth language? And I'll be like, yo man, dualistic truth could be anything. Anything you could look at long enough and be like, that's true, yo. And they'll be like, why? Because I'm looking at it. It's like, no. Truth is a value out of all temporary simulated value systems that is unchanging. That means it's the perfect idea. It is perfection itself. God is unmistaken. God is absolute. God is all-knowing, all-powerful, all merciful. What does that mean? That means, yo, human species, you're in the presence of an original higher power, not a simulated, you created some sort of higher entity power. It's the realization of, okay, there's this book that's a revelation from the higher planes, and then there is this simulated world we're in. And what do we do with this simulation? And something that bugs me, whether I blame it on my like internal, like my visionary OCD, you know, I want to hear the march of an advanced civilization before I leave this world. I just want to be able to look at this world and be like, okay, an advanced project started, and it's gonna go and have a life of its own beyond me. Like, that's the feeling. I just have to see human beings being like, yeah, why aren't we advanced right now? Why have we been denied even the ability? Why do we feel shame or, you know, a restriction when it comes to the idea of what could our most advanced self be? And that question is so deep because you got to be like, okay, where could the most advanced self be? And the answer is in the most advanced world. Yet we're not in the most advanced world wondering about the most advanced self. So the ultimate answer is, what is the most advanced state that we can access? And it's the realization that we are not the most advanced, but we are in the presence of it. There's a deep philosophical question, and believe it or not, in theology, where they're like, why did God even need to create man? Why did God command man into existence? Command man to say all the divine names in the presence of all manifestation, and then command all manifestation to bow to God's greatness, God's glory. And so, anyway, something after that happened, and right now, we have fallen from the most advanced, but it doesn't mean we understand how far we've fallen. Right now, we are not in heaven in the presence of the system admin. We are on earth in the presence of the system admin. Take that in. Do you know what I mean when I say system admin? I mean like, yo, your body's been simulated here physically for some time. Every idea you've had, every moment has been simulated in that moment, in that time. You are a rhythmic creature. You wake up, go to sleep, you work, you rest. Do you see what I'm saying? It's all rhythmic, dualistic. It's kind of like the species is waving in a civilized way, you know? Like computers turning on and off, but way far superior. The realms we have access to beyond the ignorance of the looping or the inanimate. Greatness is more like, for me, it was like first, like, yeah, you gotta command greatness. If you see it, you gotta say it. If you see in your inner realms an advanced civilization, pretty much I'm saying it. But in order to have an advanced civilization, we need to have an advanced humanity. In order to have an advanced humanity, the advanced humanity has to acknowledge the most advanced power. The most advanced power is an advanced power beyond the imaginable. To have a relationship with God is to have a relationship with the unimaginable context to all the imagined conception that is being identified as you. To be in the presence of truth is far superior than any spiritual experience, I think. If they're like, yo man, in one door you could get the truth of reality, and in another door you could have the most happiest simulated life ever. And I'll be like, I'm sorry, what is truth? Because how can I live satisfied when I know there is an edge to knowledge? Holy shit, these guys are living Oscar level actors. Every teacher in human civilization in 2025. Oscar level, holy shit. Oscar level to like Truman Show level. They're like, I didn't know I was an Oscar level actor. They're like, yeah man, they just had to make a script around your life. In the future, scriptwriters 100% are going to be like journalists or something. They're going to infuse. Scriptwriters should marry journalists. I think that's the future of media. For me, if they're like, can you see the future? I'm like, I can see probabilities to it. If you ask me what's going to happen tomorrow, I'll be like, I don't know. But if you ask me, what do you think is going to happen tomorrow? I'll be like, my God. Like, I've even thought about how I'm going to feel about myself when I wake up tomorrow. And to wonder about, was the value of my life, was the value of my waking life equivalent to the value of my deep sleep? That's a tragedy. I'm pretty much waking up as a human being like, what do I have access to, and what's the most important value, and what's the protocol really? To me, I can't ignore, like, something in me is like, yo, we were not born to be like the past. It's impossible, actually. They're like, yo man, is he debunking the myth that no son can satisfy, their father? Like, it's impossible. The generational gap is impossible for contextual satisfaction and unity. How far can our attention go in the presence of that which is the most important to us? We are not defined by what we believe only, I think. Or I think our beliefs should be defined based on what is the most important to us. That means, what is the most important thing to me in this moment? If I could find the most advanced way of it, I don't know. Maybe I'm a fool, maybe I'm not. But there's this strange urge within me to be like, what is there to talk about? It's like, you're kidding. Everything is the simulated reality over reality. Language is art for the poet. It's all about how you've consciously articulated and categorized, this is very important, I think, your contextual being. Do you know what that means? That means if you ask me, like, yo, man, how have you categorized your contextual being? I'll be like, my whole life, I thought it was about me. I realized the human brain is being in a self-simulation, you know? It's self-simulating meaning over everything it's seeing, and it's trying to fit into the safety of a limited system. And I'm like, whoa, whoa, whoa. Like, I don't know what kind of character I have in, like, you know, history, or even if like history will ever see who I am. But the real question is, you got 8 billion souls somewhere in the same room, and they can't figure out that to do the most advanced thing, they have to wonder about the most advanced state. This is strange to me. Somebody, I don't know if this makes me, like, again, a fool or not, but if they're like, what is greater than the love of souls? What is greater than divine love? Perhaps nothing, but some mind has managed to fathom the word's true force. That means I don't know what other way you can see truth if you believe the simulated. It's kind of like two options, really. I don't know how this is, like, not been pointed out. And guys, right? I don't know, maybe share what you think about what I'm saying, but, like, pretty much you, like, consciousness in the human form opens its eyes, and it's like, all right, do I assume simulated meaning to everything I'm seeing, or do I walk through it? And when you're younger, you enjoy simulating yourself. But as you get older, you wonder about how the self is even a simulation. What is truly here? Why are you here? Why are all of us here? Why can we communicate? What is the point of human beings just living lives for themselves nobody ever sees? There has to be a context, just like how you could see a good and bad moment, just like how you can see probabilities to, like, okay, I can, like, do this and do that. Similarly, you could look at the world and be like, okay, the world can be this or be that. And when you think about it, really, it's just like, yo, man, it has to be divine intervention. Because no way they're gonna figure it out. It's like, I don't know how I'm seeing it even, but it's like, how do you get 8 billion human beings to build an advanced civilization? And the age-old answer is, like, they need to have the same values, yo. And how do you get 8 billion people to have the same value? Well, you realize all value systems have an epitome. All value systems have a peak, that which is on the top of the system. And what is at the top of all human ideological system is the creator, the source of that ideological system. The pattern we find theologically is original simulated, a simulation, simulated in the simulation for it all to return back to the original. The original home, the yearning of every soul in history has been to return home. But what home is for the human, for this soul that we are, is returning to the way it was originally commanded to exist by the systematic. Like, I don't think it's Mysterian, like it's only God knows. But I'm saying It's strange because even though only God knows, the holy book is for those who believe in the unseen, which means there must be a relationship with the unseen. And the relationship of man with the unseen is similar to somebody like in a box, and like it's like, okay, we have no clue what's outside the box. But while we're in the box, we're getting clues of how it's even a box. How is reality standing in front of you? Perhaps I'll end it here, but what double-edged prophecy means, moments at the edge of one moment, many moments have edges. In the name of God, the most benevolent, the most merciful, the most advanced. The system admin knows what man laughs to realize is destiny. How far do we go? What finds us? This is something, I don't know if anyone's spoken about it like this, but something for me as a soul throughout the day. I'm like, what comes to meet my soul? What out of reality, like how does reality respond to how I'm being real in it? How am I being real to what I consider to be real? And what is the mystery beyond, the ignorance of self-worship? Like, I am tired of considering myself as like a new person every day like that. I'm tired of that. I've reached a point where I'm like, it's time dilation, They're like, when you're having fun, time flies by. It's like, no, guys, when you don't have attention to time, there's no time there. They're like, if you're looking at it, of course it's real. But if you're not looking at it, what is real? What is the heart of the species beating for? And what can someone alive in 2025 really say? Do I go Charles Dickens on this and be like, it was the best of times, it was the worst of times, or do I just say, behind our eyes, the world had gone further than in front of it? And we stood in that era in human history where we're like, we can see a better way reality can be, but why isn't it? And they're like, yo, man, we're the future, we're the generations born like not rebellious enough. Whatever it is, we're given a position and we're given a value system. To me, they're like, yo, man, do you need a degree on cultural studies, And I'll be like, no, bro. Like, all that it is the behavior of creatures in a chunk of land. They're like, what is human psychology? It's how this entity is existing to itself, to others, and to what could be beyond itself as a value system theory. Do you know what I think deep down I was like, yo, man, that this would be a victory if this could happen, where these talks of mine somehow ushered the future generations, the younger generations, to start asking deep questions. And then all systems in civilization had to, by man, just by the nature of seeing something deeper, abide by it. You see, you might not have a choice in what kind of world you're in, but you do have a choice of how you function through it. You might not believe it, but giving these talks is like walking up a mountain above the clouds and like recording something, because throughout the day I'm just like, okay, physical reality. To me, it's just like If we didn't attempt the most advanced, were we cowards? Like, that's the only thing in my mind. I'm like, as every person on this planet, how could you not be fascinated by how advanced reality could be? If you just go through that process, you're gonna see one level, two level, three level, and then you're gonna reach a point where you're gonna be like civilization is advancing in a way that it's unimaginable to who we are now. Time is like is the subjective context to human interrupts right now. We're all united by the time that we're in. And it's strange because time is acting as the subjective space for our ego. It's fascinating. God did not just create a human being, God created the most complex, sophisticated geometry of manifestation, and it's like, all right, make decisions now. I'm gonna create like supernovas, and I'm gonna create like this. I'm not saying me, but I'm saying just it's the system admins. Like, I'm gonna create supernovas, and I'm gonna create imagination. What are you gonna do about it, humans? And in that moment, all of us are like, yo, why? Why? Compared to every other species on this planet, we are more advanced. The stupidest human being is more advanced than any four-limbed moving animal. Why? Because we notice more. And sure, the biologists are like, it's the brain, I got it. Yeah, it's an instrument. But what is moving it all? What is moving here? What is responding? It's a force. The soul is a force, and you can't define a force like this. Like, I don't know if when Yoda was like, yo, the force to Luke Skywalker or something, it's like in that moment, I don't know if that's very different than like a Muslim being like, yo, there's one system admin commanding manifestation into all having already commanded it. Destiny means life has already happened. You're just meeting that parallel out of all the parallel, subjective parallel realities, you're finally meeting that. Because for me, it's not a matter of how do I physically meet my end, but it's also with what sort of internal way as a subjective being am I standing in the presence of all that is. And the way I think I've something experienced, the closest thing I've experienced to this is like a wind. And everything that you've held on to that you're identifying as yourself, you see how much, what percentage of that is temporary. And you come to the realization you're not just here to analyze reality. You're not here to just calculate truth or solve the equation. You are here as a living being that has the privilege still to be conscious of the system admin. You're not here alone. It's not just the life of the species. It's the life of the species in the presence of the unimaginable life of God. The unimaginable life of God. And I in no way I am saying that in a rude religious way. It is just the truth. That truth stands beyond conception. That means no idea could equate to this value that we all consider to be the original value of all being. And then you start building civilization. It's like just like architecture, set up the foundations. So what should the foundations of an advanced civilization be set on? On how advanced the lives of the future can be. Because we're born and limited to the technologies of our time. And anyways, guys, I was about to end the episode, but thank you for listening. And just truly wonder about how reality is not just like, yo, man, this is one way of saying it, and that's all you gotta see from now. It's like, no, it's something that is so much more advanced that God was not believing like a character in a story. God was like the realization where all characters in all stories are. That means all our subjective selves are standing, and our objective self is standing in the presence of the original self. The original self, some may consider the soul of Adam and alayhi salam, like Adam, the first prophet. But I think it's beyond that. I think the soul was commanded, and every soul in this world is functioning. What intuition is like they're following the original command of their soul by the original being as a simulated entity now. And the test is, how much do you notice that? Do you understand? Like, imagine like contacting aliens. That's nothing. That's nothing compared to contacting the system admin of the simulation. They're like, is this guy being metaphoric? No, it's an actual simulation. It's just multiple simulations, and some parts of it are self-simulated. You snap out of the self-simulated. You notice that, okay, before I have an opinion on reality, reality is moving. What intelligence is moving meaning before I move the meaning and define it? And that intelligence is beyond human. So we are in the presence of a superior divine intelligent management of this simulation that instantly confirms that we are not alone in the cosmos. That instantly confirms emptiness cannot exist. That instantly confirms the void is secondary. That's the power of divine command. It's honestly two of the most beautiful words beside each other. Because the divine command is not fathomable by the human being. Divine command means the system's admin shifted the system. In Islam, there's stories of Prophet Moses, and Prophet Moses was like in direct contact with God, and Prophet Moses is like, I don't know what to do, and God was like, just go forth, I got this, right? And he goes forth, him and his brother go, right, in front of the Pharaoh, and the Pharaoh's like, what is this, And all that's going on there is pure faith that the next moments are decided not based on the judgment of humans, but the judgment of the higher power. All of our ancestors had a relationship with a power that was beyond them. All of us. I don't even care how atheist you are. To be an atheist, what is the higher power? The void. Do you understand what I'm saying? Beyond the unnecessary language wars. A species smiled into recognition of how advanced the future will be. This exact moment you're existing in. Perhaps we may not witness it, but the stardust and our atoms will. Those human beings that will live in these moments that we're living right now in ways far superior, far more amazing. They will see beyond our blind spots. They will probably look at my talks and be like, yo, that's so funny. This guy was trying to break out of it, What we're trying to do is make sure giant robots in the future act ethically. I'd start the charity for it, but it's too soon. We are at the presence of that moment where all human beings have to decide. Will I pursue my simulated life, or will I pursue my original life? The discovery of your original life, the life that was flawless by the instantly arriving in the presence of the flawless. It's like you were not born on earth, you were born in the presence of the original greatness of being. The might of this world is the command of the system admin. That means if they're like, yo man, if you were some kind of like religious figure of your own beliefs, what would it look like? It would be like, I would just look at people and be like, yo man, there's human command, there's natural command, and there's divine command. Some moments are divinely commanded to happen in certain ways. Some moments the human command can interfere. It's like human intervention in this unknown event called life. And then there is like, systemic intervention, and then there is divine intervention. Divinity always means the ultimate is possible. That means if you don't believe in God, it's equivalent to not believing in a singular, unimaginable origin to being. I don't know how to say it, but it's like, how are you compartmentalizing what all of this means to you? They're like, yo man, this is too deep. I'm like, guys, what do you mean too deep? What the F was courage then? It is deep because it's unnatural. That's why. If I naturally knew truth, then I would be like, what is the point of non-natural? But I know, perhaps destined and designed to say it as such in this moment. We are all we are all unknown souls in the presence of the soul of manifestation. There is higher command, which means humanity is a station. If somebody says who in the simulation are successful, I will say those who are close to God. Those who are close to the underlying intelligence of being that is beyond characterization. This does not mean do not shift your view on your past. All I'm telling you is beyond every moment's edge, the moment occurs because it has been commanded into being. We are the result of original cause. We are the after effect of the original true presence of being. We don't have time to play games of like, yo man, I'm holy, and tag, I touched you, so you're holy now. It's like, it's not, we're not trying to play like holy tag. We're just looking at this realm, asking ourselves, what is it? How have we looked at it so far? What is the furthest possible vision of it? And how can the furthest possible vision not be beyond the limits of the vision, which are based on the imaginable? They're like, what was hiding truth from you? All of conception. Why was it hiding truth from you? because truth was not hiding from me. God was here, which means truth was here before the ignorant moderator or shaitan was here. Before the anti-force to the human, the anti-soul force was active, God was in the room. The original remembrance of the soul of man is the realization God created us in front of all manifestation, told us to perform in front of all manifestation, told all manifestation to bow to man. And then you know what happens? But I'm saying we performed in front of all existence, and now we're born alive as unique individuals, performing again. And the issue seemed to be that Adam and Eve forgot that they should have asked God for the apple. They could have just said, God, we really want an apple. But instead they bit into the simulation. They respected an authority that was not the original. They touched the simulated. And so their descendants are now, in a simulation being like, what's going on? But it's fine. Because the whole point and greatest clue is that God is in the room, in the sense that the whole room is aware of the supremacy of its creator. We were created by the higher power, and you go living your life inferiorly? The poet Rumi said, you were born with wings, why prefer to crawl through life? You are born as a soul that has access to the system admin. Go directly to the original power of the world, reanimate every moment of your life, as if no ideology story can contain what is in the presence of the original truth. God is, you are connected to the system admin before you're connected to the simulation. And the soul's remembrance of its original source is the remembrance of the God beyond worlds and beyond words. The edge of the road of conception is the realization in the conditional infinity is falsehood. The unconditional eternity is the clarity of being. That mankind, whatever life he lived, he performed. We formed as manifestation, received information, reformed ourselves, and had an influence on the reformation and the revolution of civilization, and then we left. And then we're like, yo man, what kind of life did I live? And I was like, you lived the life of someone who externally couldn't change the world, so you picked up a microphone. And you had to roar at the simulation until you remembered. You stare at the sky and you discover its owner. You look at your existence and you discover that the game, the camera was your eyes, was set at where your eyes are. But the main event is beyond you. A civilization built on the shoulder of a giant has its destiny is predestined by where the giant is going. Destiny means discovering how the macro has already been decided. I don't know what kind of life I will live. I don't know how people will experience what I'm doing. I don't know what the value of what I'm doing is. But there is this feeling in me that I was here in history. And why not say so? Again, thank you for listening. In the name of God, the most benevolent and the most merciful.